Secretary Kerry, thank you so much for joining me here at the
Delighted to. Thank you.
You have been here in your role as Presidential Special Envoy for Climate. Very different this year. You're here with Galvanize. What role have you taken with them, and what's the experience been like?
My role is not that different, really, from the role I had not only as Special Envoy, but as Secretary of State, which is to try to do the best we can to put a policy on the table that's going to protect my country, the United States, but also protect the world. And right now, the climate crisis is obviously just growing in its scope and impact. But the alternative, the other economy that exists on clean energy, on robust, abundant energy, is actually sitting out there. And Galvanize is working with portfolio companies which have new ideas about how you can reduce emissions, how you can decarbonize, how you can coordinate the efforts to be able to help somebody, produce a solid, no emissions future and still produce their goods and do so with firm energy. Firm energy meaning, it's not a problem when the wind doesn't blow or the sun's not shining because you have sufficient alternative input to continue your baseload. That's our mission. Our mission is to show people you can do that, and you don't need government subsidy to do it, and you don't need concessionary funding to make your deal. You can do this on the fundamentals of business with a profit at the backside that beats a lot of other competitive entities and provides America with the leadership we need to be producing energy. So we believe very strongly that it's a mistake to not be in the Paris Agreement. It's not fatal to us at all. We went through that 4 years ago, and the market continued to grow, and we continued to do well. But now it is critical that we move faster, scale faster, and move faster.
Of course, you mentioned it, and the big news is President Trump taking his second term. He's declared a national emergency with energy. His words, drill, baby, drill. What's your reaction to that?
Well, my reaction is really what we ought to be doing. I mean, first of all, he's right that there should be an energy emergency. I think that's terrific. Providing that energy emergency is defined by the reality of what the science tells us we need to do, which is not be burning more fossil fuel to put it up in the atmosphere if we can't capture those emissions. Now, if we can capture it, terrific. Then it can be part of the mosaic. But on price, it's not going to win at the current level of technology and the current cost of doing that. But my bigger reaction is, rather than drill, baby, drill, it's build, baby, build. We should be building the new energy future by building out our systems. We don't even have we don't have a grid in America. We have, East Coast, West Coast, Texas, a little bit of line across the top. Massive hole in the middle of our country where you can't deliver electrons or molecules, which are the heart of the future. So we think there's a better way to approach that, and it is to be number one in class, to be the best in providing the best kinds of energy, and we have a lot of very bright people working at that effort now.
You talked about, of course, he's come out of the Paris Climate Accord. Right. How worried are you about that impact?
Well, let me tell you, respectfully, when he first was elected in 2016, 2017 came into power, he did the same thing. He pulled out of the Paris Agreement. But pulling out of the Paris Agreement just energized 37 governors in America who operate with what are called renewable portfolio laws, a requirement under their law to have so much renewable and be moving in that direction. They also, those governors were supplemented by about 1,000 mayors of all the major cities in the United States who said, we're staying in, we're still going to do Paris. And so at the end of the Trump administration first term, 75% of the new electricity that came online in America came from renewables, despite pulling out of the agreement. My belief is, based on traveling around and talking to an awful lot of entrepreneurs and a lot of different finance ministers and energy ministers in various parts of the world, that we are poised to actually do better by moving into this clean energy transition. And that's what they believe in, and they're doing it. All around the world, people are moving in that direction. In my judgment and other people's judgment, not doing it fast enough and not doing it big enough, but we're moving. And the fact is that that energy to the marketplace will eclipse one person's decision, even a powerful person. It will eclipse that, and I'm seeing people continue to push for new energy sources, whether it's geothermal, wind, solar, hydrogen, fusion, who knows? One of those is going to break through big. Batteries are very, very critical to the future. But that's where a huge amount of money is now going. And despite what Donald Trump has done, even the first time and now the second. Last year, about close to $2 trillion was allocated by private sector to investing in the energy future. Almost $2 trillion. $1 trillion was invested in fossil fuel. For the first time ever, last year, 2 to 1, more money investing in the future than the past. Now, oil is a commodity, and oil's price is affected by the marketplace much more. In case of climate, there it's not, it's a technology, and the technology is moving and changing. And as it moves to lower price, you could get a contract for solar at about 1.7 cents a kilowatt hour now. And that beats fossil fuel, it beats anything else we have today. So the marketplace is going to decide and define this future, I believe.
But if the leader of the free world is basically saying that he doesn't believe in climate change, so he doesn't want to take climate action, hence pulling out of the Paris Agreement, do you think that other countries will follow suit? How does it place China in all of this?
Well, nobody followed suit for 8 years ago. He was the only leader in the world, I believe, certainly not more than two, that made the decision to get out. And most of the leaders in the rest of the countries of the world are saying, we've got to get more engaged in developing these technologies, putting them out there, and they're living under great restraints in certain parts of the world where their legislatures, their parliaments, or their presidents or monarchs have said, we're going to do this, we got to go clean, because they know that coal doesn't have a long-term future. It's just, nobody, there are only a few countries building it out of absolute necessity, and they are simultaneously building out other ways of being able to provide their energy. Take China, for instance. China has a massive coal base, very dangerous, and they've designed some more and built some more. But as they're doing that, they're hedging, and they have built a massive amount of renewable energy, solar and wind. So much so that China is now built and deployed more renewable energy than all of the rest of the world put together. That's extraordinary. And that means their decarbonization is going to come faster. It's going to come way ahead of what they predicted, and that's good for all of us. And the president was actually not accurate when he said that China is not doing anything or enough, and that there's an unfair burden placed on us in the Paris Agreement. Wrong. There's no burden placed on us by the Paris Agreement. We define our own plan. Every country writes its own plan. So the fact is that with the decision of Dubai, the 28th meeting of all the countries of the world, in the hardest diplomacy there is, when you have almost 200 countries sitting there putting their point of view on the table, and the fact is that out of Dubai came a critical new mandate, not a mandate, excuse me, a mission, because it's not mandated, it's voluntary. But the challenge is to transition away from fossil fuel. Even fossil fuel countries signed on to that. And to do so at a rate that will get us where we need to go according to the science, and to accelerate in this decade. So that's a sea change in where we've ever been. Now countries need to do it. Time to implement.
You've worked with numerous administrations, Secretary Kerry. If you could, what advice would you give to President Trump? What's the one piece of advice?
I'm not going to sit here on television, forgive me, but I'm not going to try to, give the president advice in the second or third day of his new administration. I wish him well. I hope he brings parties together. I hope he brings the country together. It is so important now. American leadership is critical. He's correct about that. We got to keep going. And I just want success for our country and for the planet.
And for Galvanize, where do you hope to take it?
Well, we hope to meet a lot more young entrepreneurs who are as excited as I am about the possibilities of building a big, large company that's doing an awful lot of good for the planet in terms of defining the solutions to the climate crisis. And I believe on the other side of this journey of transition to a clean energy economy, I mean, we will be building, I'm confident, small modular nuclear reactors. Some large ones are being built right now. And UAE just brought 4 online. That's one way to start to tackle how you reduce carbon emissions. But the biggest opportunity we have of all is the sun, which is unbelievable amount of energy every single day. There are places where we can draw the energy from the sun. That's happening. We've seen the price, as I mentioned earlier, of solar come way down. Solar sales were up 4-fold last year. Electric vehicle sales were up 5-fold last year. And yeah, we should move faster. It should be happening, in a bigger swamping wave, if you will. Maybe that's a bad analogy. But that's what we need. We need to move quickly. We have great human ingenuity to apply to this task. I'm excited about it. I believe we can win this fight. But we just need to do simple things like deploying the technologies we have today. If we did that, it's easy to meet our 2030 target. And that sets us up to go on and meet our 2050 target. So I believe in not just American, but human ingenuity, entrepreneurial ability, creativity. And I think we're going to break through at some point, but we got to get more serious about this moving faster and bigger.
Secretary Kerry, thank you so much for joining me today.
My pleasure. Thank you.